Hey everyone, thanks for joining me on another episode of To Felix with Love. I'm joined by my wonderful friend, Mr. Harrison Howard, and we're going to discuss what it's like being a black straight man, growing up in the South, and befriending a black gay man like myself. So let's just jump into it. You realized as a teenager that this church thing just wasn't going right. So let's dive into that.
I never really had a conversation with my mom. She just kind of noticed that I stopped going to church, and that was sort of like the first time that I took, I don't know, agency over like my spiritual course. Because it just, 16, 17, it didn't make sense to me that of all the sin that's going on out here, like this is the most important one. This is the one that you got to preach about once a month, and like I'm looking at people in the audience and like some people that I know are gay and they have to like hide or feel shame about who they are. And so for me, it never like, it never set right with me. It never like felt right. Late high school is when I kind of made a decision that like I have to distance myself from this. And then once I distanced myself from this, and it became about like meeting people, no matter who they are, and building relationships based on that. Like that has to be the foundation for me.
Okay.
Yeah, so like I'm dealing with the crisis of religion, but I'm also dealing with that from like a social standpoint, like, and yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I got participated into that stuff until I like was checked on it.
What made you recognize that that was wrong?
Oh, one of my homeboys checked me on it.
Oh, okay.
Like one of my very good friends, very good friends actually to this day. In high school, I had like, we like going back and forth joking and shit. And can I cuss on here?
What?
Can I cuss on here?
Oh my God. Go ahead.
Yeah. So me and one of my friends, man, we like joking and stuff, and I can't remember exactly what the joke was, but I had said like, oh no homo, bro, to him, knowing that he was gay. And he was like, what? Like, how do you think that make me feel? Like, that is not what this conversation is, or what? And so from there, it was just kind of like, at that moment, it was just, we had a real conversation of like how that pause, like those things can kind of be offensive when using like the wrong context, I would say. And that was like, I don't know, probably like 2005, 2006.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did you ever, being that you befriended those that are gay, black men, at a younger age, knowingly and willingly, did you ever get any pushback from other straight men? Did that ever come up in conversation?
Honestly, not to my face.
Okay.
If people, I hate to be the cliche to be like, oh, I'm comfortable with my sexuality and all that stuff like that, because none of that really matters anyway. Like, but nobody's ever like brought it to me like, oh man, you, or even like when I moved here, because like, me being here, like a lot of my black male friends are gay. Like I hang with either women or black gay men up here. But like I've never concerned myself when nobody ever brought that like perception of like, oh well, why is that? Like let me ask them about it. And nobody's ever challenged me on it. And yeah, I mean honestly, it wouldn't bother me if anybody asked me about it, because it's a very simple question, a very simple answer to me.
I think we talked about it one time before.
Yeah.
I think I brought it up and you just said that's who I became friends with, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
Now, what I would like to discuss is how you feel, and I don't know that you know that these conversations happen, and it's not just you about you, but this happens, I'm sure, with other, because I have had straight friends as well over the years, and this always comes up. People will ask me, I'm not trying to call people out, but women more specifically than men will ask me, well, is he gay?
Yeah.
And it always blew my mind because I never understood why a man had to be gay to befriend another gay man. Because one thing that I always want to put out there is that being a black gay man, I'm always black first, and that's the connection that I have with another black man, whether he's gay or straight, or bisexual, or whatever he may identify with. We're black first.
Right.
And when we recognize that, then that should alleviate all that anxiety and all those. It should,
but it doesn't.
It doesn't, for a lot of other reasons. But how does that make you feel that someone actually is questioning your sexuality because of who you choose to be friends with?
I wish I had some deep answer, but I just don't think about it. Like
it doesn't bother you.
It doesn't bother me at all. Like, you know, because like, here's the thing, man. Like, if anybody could, people are gonna say whatever they want to say about you, and they're gonna say whatever they want to say about you, whether they have like any like facts, actual information, anything. You know what I'm saying? So it's like people are just gonna, like, that's human nature to kind of like figure out. You know, it's almost like we have this tendency as people, like when we see somebody like extremely comfortable in self, we try to like ascribe our insecurities or our like preconceived notions to that person
all the time.
Yeah. So you know what I'm saying? So it's like I can't live my life based on what other people's preconceived notions may be, what other people's insecurities may be. Like this is my circle. These are the people that I choose to hang with. It doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter anybody's like orientation, and it goes back to what you said. Like, we all black first. That blackness comes with like a shared experience. You know what I'm saying? So it's like for people to be like, oh, the shared experience must be their sexuality and not their blackness. I think that speaks to a larger conversation that people should have.
Well, and the frustrating part is that these are black people that are bringing this up and questioning that. Now, this is something that bothers me about the black gay community. So I did mention before that it's mostly women that have approached me with those questions about sexuality of a straight man that I've befriended.
About me specifically?
No, not you specifically. Well, you specifically, it's black men, black gay men that are asking me the question. And it bothers me so much because we cry about people being our allies, but when you are an ally, then we complain.
Right.
Well, why does he want to be around? He must want to try it. Like, there's no way that he's not gay. But which one do you want?
Right.
And I'm gonna say, like, it has come up, and I'm gonna talk about you specifically because you're here. So there's somebody that we know that has asked the question many times, and it does not make sense to me. And going back to what you said about insecurities, are you that insecure about your own self that you cannot accept the fact that another human being can look at you and respect you for who you are, not who you have sex with?
And value is that.
Right.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't, I mean, I like to tell stories, and I'm just going to give you a little story.
No, go ahead.
Because I think this puts it more into context. So,
because you gave some good stories in the first episode.
I got a lot more stories to come. So, you know, at one point we hung out very often at your house or whatever. And there was a night when I got so drunk and I just slept over.
Right.
And someone else that was here made a big deal about it and asked, well, did you get into bed with him? I bet if you tried it, he would do it. And I'm just like, is this where we are?
Right.
And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because that's not an isolated incident. I've had situations over the years where people have questioned me about straight friends that I have. Like, there's no way that he's straight because he wouldn't be friends with you. And that to me is offensive because what are you saying about me? So we cannot have a connection outside of our sexuality.
Right. And like you said, it speaks to, I think it speaks to how people view themselves. Like, like you've been very clear in this that you view yourself as black first, gay second, right? And I think that a lot of people view their orientation as their ID. Like, yes. I am gay first, black second. And I know you're gonna touch on like black gay interracial relationships. I think it kind of leads to how that how that may happen. I am not the I'm not a subject matter expert on that, so I will be tuned into that episode. But I think it just goes to how people view themselves. If people view themselves as gay first, black second, then they're looking at it like their commonality with other people have to be on the first level. So it has to be our orientation aligned first. You know what I'm saying? Not necessarily our shared experiences. Because like, here's the thing, like black people kind of boil down to like maybe 4 or 5 experiences. That's why everybody like there's like this commonality with black people because we all have like similar experiences that we can pull from and bond through. And I just think that maybe some people just don't view themselves in that light. And honestly, it could be for good matter. Like, I just sat here and talked about how, like, a lot of people in the South grow up Baptist, Christian, like, my girlfriend and I, we joke a lot that, like, if it wasn't for racism, black people would be conservatives, because
that's a...
Yeah, I'm just saying because like
black people are very conservative.
They
black
are very conservative because
conservative.
Religion dictates a lot of their like their morality, their social views. That is all viewed and shaped through religion. So I think a lot of people, and God, I promise y'all, I'm not trying to speak for gay people. This is just my like view looking in.
Yeah, speak for us.
Speak for us, straight black man. But I think that a lot of times that I could see how growing up in black families, religious black families, religion can kind of create that separation between you and your blackness. So it's no longer about you identifying as black. It's about you being identified through your orientation because that's what religion do. And I think that creates this sort of like, I'm gay first, black second.
Yes, I can understand that and I can receive that. I think the problem with that is, the reason why I would never identify as gay first is because I'm not included in the gay community as a black man. So racism runs rampant throughout this world on varying levels. But in the gay community in America, we are not included. And Dave Chappelle proved that point in his special, The Closer, as everyone has talked about and watched, or maybe not watched, but
yeah, I was gonna say I've only seen like 20 minutes of it.
I was mortified I think it's, I don't know, let's say it's 50 minutes. I was mortified for 48. But it's because there's actually an article that Roxane Gay wrote in the New York Times that pretty much expressed that. Like, he excluded in his expression of the gay community, aside from the trans community, the gay community, he excluded black people from the LGBTQIA plus spectrum because he's not aware of how, and that just goes to show, and I don't really want to sit here and talk about Dave Chappelle too much. I talked about him for 10 minutes on the second episode, but I think that's a general idea of what being gay looks like to the average black straight man, cis het man. And it's important for us to have these conversations because I think as black gay men, we do often separate ourselves from black straight men because of the way that we may have been treated by them in the past and associating our experiences with the church. I had a very different experience, as I mentioned on episode 1. I didn't have those experiences I never looked at black men in that way. I always looked at myself as a part of that community, but many did not because maybe their fathers disowned them, the pastor disowned them from the church. So it's connected to trauma that I didn't have. I mean, my father.
We don't want to get on fathers.
Well, yeah, I know your father's situation. I mean, mine is at least you have you got something better going there. Mine is. But anyway, I digress. And also let me say this because I don't want people to think this. I know this is something where people go a lot of times when it comes to relationships. A black gay man in a relationship, lack of a relationship with his father, and that's what turns him gay. That's not what happens. My mother was amazing, and I had amazing grandparents and my aunt and uncle around. Like I had great examples of black men in my life. So I did not lack by not having my actual father around.
Yeah, likewise with me. My mom met my stepdad when I was like 5. You know, so yeah, my dad went around, but I've had a father figure in my life my entire life, pretty much.
To kind of tie back into what we've been discussing, the overarching theme of this episode, do you have any idea of what your father or stepfather, what their views are on gay people? Has that ever come up in conversation with either of them?
Actually, no.
Never.
Never. It came up with my mother, because a family member on our side. So like, I don't know too much about my stepdad's family, you know, outside of like, you know, his brothers, sisters and stuff. But like on my mom's side, one of my cousins actually came out as gay and maybe like he was in college. So I might have been, I don't know, like 17 at the time. So yeah, so that was the first time that like it kind of entered our atmosphere, you know.
Okay.
And that was honestly a telling moment because I got to see, you know, because like I'm gonna be honest with you, like my family is like super religious and like not as I mean I don't want to use the word evolved, but like not as accepting and open as I am. So like I have family members that use the F word, and if you like cry, they'll call you a punk and like all of that shit. And so like when my cousin came out, it was just kind of weird to like see different family members, like how they reacted. And the one thing that I will notice is before he came out, he was around for a lot of that language that they use. A lot of the, like I said, like a lot of the I don't know, degrading, whatever like bad, you know, synonym you want to give to it. But like he was around for a lot of that. And then I think once he came out, like a lot of the like tone shifted. It was like, oh, it's great, we support you. But it's like, these are the same people that were like saying, oh, if you cry, you a punk, or you weak, or you got sugar in your tank. Like all of that, you know, stuff that like old black people would be saying. So that was like my first time to kind of like see how, you know, it's weird because it went from when they're like casting those like that language out into the world, they're doing it from like a abstract sort of space. Like, we don't know anybody that's gay, so they just talk freely about it, right? But then like it comes like, oh, you have gay people in your family, and then it's like, oh well, you're fine, but the rest of y'all are going to hit. The rest of y'all are sick. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
yes, and that's a problem.
yeah. So it's kind of like you don't respect or value gay black people as a whole. You just only accept the ones in your family.
Yes, and I think that's, well, I wish even that was more common. It's not that common, but that's more common than those that just accept people, everyone as a whole.
Right.
So I think that idea, when I was younger, and again, like, it was never brought up about me being gay as a kid, and I just knew that I was, and it was never a conversation with anyone. My coming out story wasn't really a coming out story. My grandmother just happened to ask me, "Are you gay?" one time, and it had nothing to do with me being myself. It actually was related to me being fast and running the streets and like trying to go out late at night. And
Yeah, we've heard stories about that.
yeah, and there's a lot of those. And she really was just concerned about me and my safety, which she should have been, because I was out there running the streets as a teenager. And we also didn't know a lot about AIDS at that time, and that was definitely something she was aware of. So she just wanted me to be safe. So her asking me if I was gay was more, I took it as, I just want to make sure you are fine out here. Like, I'm not looking at you in any certain way, but I know how people will look at you in this world.
Yeah.
And I don't want you affected by that in any kind of way. So I think I also had that idea, because this is something that I noticed from my peers, that yes, you're okay, but the rest are not. And the same thing with being black. Like, I always felt like I was the acceptable black person in the group amongst the white people. So when people would say things about black people, I never thought they were talking about me.
Right.
I never took it as that.
Like,
and when
otherism.
Right.
It's about the other people.
Right.
Yeah.
And even when people would say things about gay people, negative things about gay people, like, they're not talking about me, so I don't care what they're saying. And I was completely oblivious to that growing up. But I also lived in a bubble. I lived in a very protected space until I went to college, and I was in for a rude awakening in every aspect. But yeah, what you were saying, it is something that is pretty common, where it's like, okay, yeah, I've been saying all these horrible things about gay people, but, oh, you're gay, oh, you're good, that's
Right,
fine.
right,
I love you,
right.
accept you for who you are. But when it's given in that way, do you really? Or are you just saying that? Do you really feel that way?
Right. And that's, I feel like that's the struggle.
I want to dive into something that, this is a part of lots of discussions amongst black gay men that have come up in the past couple years about the barbershop. And I will say now, I actually only go to people that cut out of their house, or people that, oh my gosh, I hate that I'm about to say this, or
Like
a black person at a white place. I hate to say that.
but you go to like Super Clips?
No,
Supercuts?
No, I do not go to Supercuts. I go to, so I actually have.
When you go to Supercuts, do they have a chart, like two separate charts, like a chart of white haircuts and a chart of black haircuts?
Okay, so this,
And you go in there and be like, I'll take the black 5.
let me actually, it's funny you say that, because I didn't even think about that until you mentioned that. So when I was probably 18, 19, I decided I wanted to get cornrows, but I was not going to a traditional black shop because I did not feel comfortable.
But you was getting your hair braided by white women?
Wait, so there was a black girl that worked at Hair Cuttery. This is in Richmond at Chesterfield Town Center. I don't remember her name, but maybe somebody out there does. I would get her to cornrow my hair, and when I would sit down in a chair, there was a laminated sheet in the drawer that she would pull out, and it actually had black hairstyles on the sheet.
I was just joking. I didn't know
No,
that's what they really
she
did.
seriously did that. So you can get those things at those places. But now I have a few different barbers, and there's actually a great, I guess this is the kind of a plug, I didn't even think about it. There's this great barbershop in Silver Spring, Maryland called Millennium, and it's owned by a black man. It is the most welcoming and comfortable space for anybody. They do great haircuts. They do beard and grooming services. And that is a place that I found out maybe about 5 years ago. And I go there on and off based on my schedule. But that's a great place. And we need more places like that for people like me that are very particular, or people that don't feel comfortable. Like if you have a kid, because there's kids that go there too. If you have a kid that, I'm not going to say that your kid is gay, but if you have a,
oh my God,
that's bad. No, I'm just saying, if you do not, as a woman, like a black woman should not be subjected to the misogyny that goes on in that barbershop. And I know they try to clean it up when they come in, when the women come in, but it's still disgusting. And
I get my haircut at such odd times. Like I'm going tomorrow on a Sunday, so I'm not in there for like the normal like barbershop crowd.
So none of that happens in your barbershop?
Nah, like.
But what kind of barbershop do you go to?
It's a black barbershop. Like
it's like a regular
black barbershop, but there's a lady that do braids in the back, so it's kind of like a mixed crowd of.
But they put her in the back for a reason.
Well, I can't vouch for that.
I'm just telling you because
I was about to say
they usually do.
I was about to say I can't vouch for that, but yeah, like it's not like I'll go in there and they like they're bashing anybody. If anything, they're just now. What I will say is, I could see how it's. So like I guess the commonality in the barbershop is like talking about sports and stuff. So like if you don't care about sports.
Talking about sports, really? Is that what they talk about in the barbershop?
No, for real, I swear.
I mean, they talk about sports, yes.
Yeah.
But they talk about women. They talk about current events. And obviously this is a blanket statement for barbershops. I'm not saying that everyone is the same, but when I was younger, I stopped going to these barbershops because I could not even digest their views on current events because they were so rooted in every evil thing that you can think of that I just couldn't take it.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever expressed that to my mom about not going to certain barbershops, but that's how I felt. And I didn't know how to express myself in that way. And I don't think that I wanted to, because I knew that would open up a bigger dialogue.
Yeah, I could say, for my barber in North Carolina, he's a little bit more liberal because it's.
You love saying this North Carolina is liberal, and it's one of the least.
All I'm saying is
liberal places in this country.
Just pull up a map, man. Just pull up any presidential election map. There's gonna be blue dots.
We know that means nothing, though.
No, but like I mean, I'll just say this: North Carolina is like 90. No, I'm sorry. Durham is like 90% Democrat. We're a little bit better than the rest of the red states.
So are you telling me?
But no. But what I'm saying is it's funny because the one of my homies, the guy who I knew was gay in middle school, his uncle is actually my barber.
Okay.
So like, and it's funny because like. So like a lot of the things that like went on in the barbershop, and it was a small barbershop too. So like I didn't experience any of that like at his shop. The shop that I go to now, it's like mainly just them arguing about who's the biggest drug dealer and like in sports and stuff. The only time now I will say, women do come up and like some mother like bring her son up there to like get her haircut, and then she fine, and everybody be like, oh, when she leave, like, oh man, she was fine. She, like that happens, but that's like few and far in between when I go.
Let me go. I need to go back to what you were saying about Jordan being liberal. You're blowing my mind. Only because I just want to make sure we're on the same page with the fact that because people are Democrats, it does not mean that they are not racist or homophobic.
No. I'm just saying that, like,
you're saying they're more likely to not be?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're a little bit more
progressive.
Yeah, I would say then especially compared to the rest of the state, because the rest of the state is like Trump supporting Bible thumpers, But like there are pockets of like metro areas in North Carolina that are like kind of have the same values per se as like a Richmond or.
Richmond is not a good example. Richmond is the capital of the Confederacy, so that's not a good example.
Okay. All right, I'll take your word.
So I want to open this floor up for you to ask me questions, because I know that you are, as we say, an ally, but I'm sure that there are things that you may want clarification on. I don't know, maybe specific to me or just in general.
No. So my question is, because a lot of people like frame it as like, oh well, you straight black man, how can you be friends with gay black guy? But like, what are those conversations like on the other side? And I think we kind of got into it, but like, yeah, what are those conversations like for you? Whereas like you live here, you kind of build this community of like gay black men, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, here's this straight outsider, So what are those conversations like?
It's funny you say that, because I actually do not have a strong community of black gay men in my circle. Let me not say it that way. Because of all the trauma associated with being black and gay in America, I don't think that I've had the opportunity to make the best connections with other black gay men. So it's actually been easier for me to connect with straight men just on a human level and common interest and the way that we view the world at large and how it is to be black in America. Those experiences tie us together. And I don't necessarily have similar experiences to being gay, and just me not struggling with it at any point in my life, me not going through those processes of I'm dating women, or I don't know, all those things that I'm sure you are familiar with other gay men that you know. I don't relate to that. And it's almost been like they don't accept me because of that. I feel like I've been shunned from. I know it's strong. But
I was about to say that's a very. You've been shunned from the community.
Shunned from the community. I mean, I know it's very strong for me to say that, but yeah. I do feel that in a certain way, because when I go places where there are other gay people, maybe this is for other reasons, I don't know, but I don't necessarily feel the most welcome. I feel more welcome by straight men, even if they look at me funny, because I mean, I have blonde hair, I painted nails, I might wear a crazy outfit, they may think it's crazy, whatever, but I still feel like I feel like they are looking at me as another black man, and gay men are looking at me as another gay man first, and I don't want to say what they may be thinking because I don't know, but if I just go based on things that people have told me their thoughts were of me when they first saw me, people just think a lot of things. I'll just put it like that. People just think a lot of things, and they're not necessarily positive. And I don't feel that I get the same thing from straight men.
Right. Interesting. So what? Okay, so then I guess my next question would be, what Do you think there's more judgment coming from your gay counterparts
Absolutely.
What would you attribute that to? I mean, I get like,
I told you, it's the trauma. Black people have trauma.
yeah,
and it's just tenfold with a black gay man. But until we heal that trauma, we're going to be stuck in the same place. And this is why I even wanted to start this podcast, because I felt like an outsider for many years because I did not connect with other black gay men on lots of different levels.
Right.
And I want people to know, especially because we have no representation in the media whatsoever. Yes, right now, Lil Nas X is very popular. I mean, I'm of a certain age, so I don't really, he's young. So he's able to come out in this way that no one in my age group was able to do on that platform.
Yeah.
But it always felt like, because I'm not like one or the other, like I never felt like I was feminine enough or masculine enough to fit. So I want people to see, like, there's not any one particular way you need to be. Just as black people are not a monolith, gay people are not a monolith.
I feel like you can do a whole episode on just that alone.
Well, yes, it'll probably come. But yeah, and it's really tricky. So I'm glad you asked that question. But yes, that's how I felt. I never felt like I fit in, so that's why I wanted to create this space for those that may feel the same way.
So I guess my next question, we discussed sort of your interactions with other gay black men in your community. And you touched on this a little bit in the first episode, but like what were your sort of like interactions with your family? I know you talked about like your mom was, sorry mom if you listening, she was, a little lenient on you and used to let you like run around in your shorts and ride your bikes to parks and stuff. But how outside of like sort of your mom, grandma, core family, like what were those conversations like with the rest of your family?
There were none.
Really?
Yeah.
So I guess I should probably ask, like, what was your family dynamic like?
So I don't know. It's interesting you asked me that. I don't know what anybody else in my family thinks. And to be honest, I don't know that I want to know.
Right.
Because I do have a side of my family that is very involved in the church. But I've never been treated any way that I didn't feel comfortable around any family member. So that's a good question. I have no idea. No clue. And I mean, I'm 40 now, so I don't know that it matters.
That it matters, right.
But I'm a little curious.
Well, I don't
want to open up.
I'm not here to open up, none of that stuff.
I don't want to go there. I will say though, I do wonder what my dad thinks. Because we don't have a relationship, but I know he sees, like we're friends on Facebook. He sees.
You still on Facebook?
Yes, I still use Facebook. He sees things that I post, and I just wonder what
his view is.
What his view is, especially now that I'm posting this, but it's very specific. It's not like I've ever come out on Facebook,
right?
But obviously now that I'm doing a podcast about black, gay, love, and my experience.
Do you think that? I guess it sounds like you've had like a different life experience, but do you think coming out is necessary? Like, do you think people have to announce it? Yeah, just in general.
Oh, okay. I think people should do what suits them best. I would never say that people don't need to come out or do need to come out. I remember when I was in high school, actually, I can go back to middle school. There was a guy that I went to middle school with that came out in middle school. And I knew I was gay at that point. I didn't feel like I almost felt like, oh, maybe I should say something to him because we're the same. But we weren't the same. And that's something I also want to be clear on. I did say this, like all gay people are not the same, just like all black people aren't the same. Because you're gay doesn't mean that we're going to be friends. It just means that we both like to have sex with men. So I thought that maybe would have, but in middle school age, I didn't really understand that. But I knew that this is a person that I'm not really that cool with outside of that. So why would I talk to him now? Because he's gay.
Right.
And then in high school, I never in high school, I was running these streets. I was out in these streets heavy. And I never came out to anyone in high school. But there was somebody that came out in my high school, and I'll never forget because he did it in like a class.
Like in the middle of
a speech or something. I wasn't in I just remember after he did it, everybody was running like, oh my gosh, he just came out in the class. I'm like, oh, that's weird. But I just never felt like I needed to do that. Because I'm not saying that people come out because they have an agenda, but sometimes that is the case.
What's the agenda?
I don't know what their agenda is. It could be a lot of different things.
Please don't get me canceled.
No, but I will say this. The only time that I ever felt like I needed to come out is because I was trying to I hate to say this. I was trying to find out if somebody else was gay, so I would come out to them. So I'll be like, hey, Harrison, I have a secret. I don't want to tell anybody else, but I feel like I'm comfortable enough to tell you I'm gay.
And then I was supposed to say your expectation would be they'll be like, me too?
Me too, let's kiss. But it doesn't happen like that. It does not. Because to my surprise, they're just like, oh, cool. Where are we going to eat? Like, I'm like, oh, I thought it was going to be a bigger thing. So when I say people have an agenda, it could just be as simple as that. It could be other things. I don't know. But for me, the first time I ever came out to a person was when this girl, I was in this journalism workshop in high school.
I can see that.
It was a summer program, and we were staying on campus. And there was a girl who I was cool with, and this other girl had a crush on me. So she came to tell me that this girl had a crush on me. And I said, I'm gay. Because I didn't want that girl.
So you're out here using your coming out as a weapon.
Right. Well, okay, so yes, I use coming out as a weapon, and I do not suggest that people do that. It's not healthy. It doesn't make sense. But that's where I was, because I was out here by myself trying to figure this out.
Right.
I had no examples. I had no guidance. And to no one's fault, that's just how it was. So I also had the same experience with sex. I mean, I use sex as a tool. You're making faces.
Listen, get it how you live.
Yeah, but I actually will have an entire episode about sex, my relationship with it, starting from when I was 15 and
listen to the last episode. You gonna get somebody indicted.
Well, look, I have some other stories, and it's not even, there's some serious things that happen, and I will tell those stories, but no names will be told. And the reason why I want to share that information is because, like I said, like I've been through a lot, and I don't want people to go through what I went through if I can help it in some kind of way. So I will talk about my experience with sex from 15 and being very active, then to things happening that made me change the way that I looked at sex and my connection with sex, and then to being abstinent for 12 years, which, wow, yeah. So I mean,
round of applause for that.
Don't applaud me though.
Okay.
Like that's not the reason why I say don't applaud is because when I would tell people about that, people would have the reaction, oh my gosh, that's amazing. But it's like, well, it's
you don't
actually,
view it as a good thing.
It's not amazing because there's a reason why I am in this place. Not today, but there's a reason why I got to that place. And then eventually I just was like, well, there's no reason for me to just have sex randomly. I'm not interested in that anymore.
Right.
I'm just in a different place in my life. But the reason why I changed my association with sex is because things happened that made me not want to have sex and made me not trust men. But that will come soon, and I'll talk more about that. Before we go, one of the reasons why I started this podcast again is to create a space for those that may not feel like they fit into what society is normalizing in regards to being gay. And also, if things were different for us, how will we navigate sex and dating and love now? If we had that representation, if we had allies, if we had guidance, what would that look like? And I try to live my life every day to make that little boy inside me proud. Like, what am I gonna do to make him smile? What's gonna make him happy? What is it that you would say, and it doesn't have to be about the topic we discussed today, but think about the little boy, the little Harrison, and think about you now. What is it that you do now that would make him happy, make him proud of you?
Wow. That is I thought you was going to ask if I could give him advice, and
No.
my advice would be to buy Apple. Probably was like $3 a share back in 2000. You know what? And I don't know. I'll be back eventually at some point. As you sort of make the rounds with guests. I'm just inviting myself back. He ain't even say that this went well yet. You guys may never hear this podcast. Who knows? No. You know what? It's funny because younger me set out a goal in life of like what a certain vision was. Like, I knew what I wanted to do from the time I was like 12 years old. So 12 years old, I was like, finance, econ, this is what I want to do. And no matter how much the journey has kind of like deterred me from that or provided detours, stuck to it. And now like I've kind of reached I don't know, I guess sort of that goal, that end goal. So I would like to think that, 12, 13-year-old D1 that, from Durham that thought like, I don't know, 30, 40,000 was all the money in the world. Like he was just happy to do that, that like I've kind of exceeded sort of what I thought was possible. So I would like to think that through, I guess, I don't know, determination, luck, whatever you want to call it, like for younger me to see kind of where I am today and to know that the decisions that he made at 12, 13, 14, taking extra accounting courses in high school, extra finance courses in college, that all of that paid off. Superficial, but
Well, okay, so to dig a little deeper though.
Yeah.
How do you think he would look at the way that you've handled relationships in your life?
Oh, no. I'm not taking advice from him. That kid's an idiot. He is an idiot. He knows nothing. We didn't get into my background, but yeah, no. I would say that at that age, I was very like, I'm gonna go to high school, go to college, meet a girl, get married, and then that's the rest of my life.
You did that.
I did that. Unsuccessfully, successfully, however you want to frame that. But I would think that like he, like most kids, you kind of like I don't know if I ever like. I mean, yeah. I mean, I just kind of like viewed life going one way. And it's because like you said, you like even you said this in the last first podcast, like you kind of like romanticize these things. So it's like you think that like, oh, like, you know, you go to school, you meet somebody, you get married, you have kids, and you know, you're an adult and you live life. And it's like the one thing that like life is constantly and consistently teaching you is whatever path you go on, like you got to be able to zig and zag through that path, man, because there's going to be like moments, obstacles in life that you have to adjust for. And it's like, you know, it's kind of weird that like, you know, not weird, but like it's almost like I wish I admire like their youthful like naivete at that age to think that the world just works one way. And then it's like you get older, you become older, and you just realize that like, man, no matter what age you are, what level you are in life, people are just trying to figure it out. And, you know, I would hope that no matter what idea or where younger Harrison would think that we are, I would hope that he would understand that like, people are just trying to figure it out, man.
Yeah. And that's okay.
That's okay.
It's okay. Is there anything that you would say would make little Harrison upset about where you are now in your life? Or not upset, disappointed?
That's an interesting question. You know, I don't think so. I'll be honest with you, man. I know other people like they're probably, you know, no, I don't think so. Cause like at that age, man, like I had an uncle that was you know, just graduating Howard, just got a job on like Wall Street, working for one of the big investment firms, and yeah, like I guess the disappointment would be like the person that I was dating at the time. I thought I was going to be with that person forever.
I mean, that's disappointment.
That is not a disappointment. Little did he know. But nah, man. Like I think the overarching like goal or like pot at the end of the rainbow for me at that age was I just wanted to, you know, be in a field that I love, be happy in my relationship, which I am, and
Your current relationship.
my current relationship, yes, and you know, and I just wanted to be in a position to where like I could like provide for my family. Like, you know, right now I don't have kids, but like I'm in a position now to where I can, you know, provide for my current relationship, or like if my mom needs something, sisters needed something, like, and that's, to me, that's happiness, you know. We'll get into the job stuff in a different podcast.
Yes, that is happiness. Happiness is fulfilling the dream that you had as a child. That's, to me, like anything that when I think back to little Felix, I actually would be shocked and amazed. Little Felix would be shocked and amazed by some of the things that I've done, some of the things that he's done. Like, there's no way I saw that coming.
You say little Felix, what age are you talking about? Because what I guess what I'm more curious about is if you told 15, 16, 17-year-old Felix that you were celibate, how would he respond to that?
I actually think he would,
because and using your, you know, what you told us and what your shit, like you in the streets.
Yeah. At 15, well, 15 probably not shocked because it wasn't good. 18, I would be very shocked by adult Felix being I don't like to use the word celibate. I prefer abstinent, but yeah, would be very surprised. Only because at that age I was using sex as a tool. I also did not think there was another option. I thought you had to have sex in order to date a man. Little did I know, these men were just taking advantage of me. So yeah, I would be surprised. But I really think about little Felix like 3, 4, 5. Because that little boy, because at that age, I just thought the world was my oyster and everything was possible. I didn't think that when I was a teenager. I'm not going to say that I didn't think lots of things were possible for me. I just didn't think, I didn't look at it on such a grand scale as I did when I was in elementary school. But to my surprise, things are actually turning out in a way that I would have dreamt them to be as a little child. Heading in a direction. I'm not saying it's all the way up, but it's heading in that direction. But like, even going back to like 20-year-old me, 30-year-old me, I did not know where my life was going. I had no idea what was gonna happen.
All right.
But I love it.
Yeah. And that's it. That's like that's the overarching theme is like you gotta love it.
Yes, gotta love it, and gotta love the opportunity to share this space with you today. And maybe we'll see you again soon.
Yeah. You invite me back anytime, man. Happy to be here.
Yes. Thanks for everyone joining us. And I hope you were able to pull something out of this that will help you. And never forget, do something, if you can, every day. Even if it's a little thing, do something that's going to make that little one inside proud of who you are today. Bye-bye, everyone.